All right. Once again, a great privilege to be with Joy to the Nations and what they have collaborated here. And Kaya, well done as far as putting this together and the concept. I think it's fantastic. I like the practicality, hey? Nice and practical. I actually wish what I'm saying today, I heard it many years ago, but really good to be with you. I'm Adrian Vermaak. Sounds quite interesting, eh? So yeah, if I can just go through a little bit of my world to bring you into my world, what am I about? Firstly, I'm involved with government, church as a pastor, business, father, and husband. And then most importantly, created by God to live His purpose and to display His glory. And His glory is relating to us being image bearers of Him. And so the more we bear witness to Him and we become more like Him, then we truly give glory to God and our lives have meaning and purpose. So really, really great being with you. So my wife and I were talking yesterday or the day before. It sounds like we never talk, but we do talk a lot. But we had a deep conversation. And I was telling my wife that what I find the hardest thing in life to do, I don't know if this relates to you, but this is very hard for me to do. When I hear a good concept or very good principles, as Kaya gave us now, to take those principles and then to make it a reality in your life, to actually go and apply it, is the hard part. And that is really what life is about. From small, we're getting good advice, hopefully, not too much bad advice. The good advice, we got to now go do it, and it can get very complicated. And we need someone, and more than someone, to help us put it in process, to put it in application. And so when we get advice or we get help that is not good for us, it can tend to be abusive even, where we go the wrong direction. So we want those that we can rely on, that we can trust to build in our lives so that we can go and apply those good things. So I was telling my wife this and she was in agreement with it. So today I feel that I'm going to unpack a concept around mentoring that will help you and I, because we're all part of this process, of receiving mentoring or mentoring others so that we can go and apply things that are important to our lives. There's this old adage that people say, and I think by and large it is true, that if you are being mentored, you will succeed. There's that concept that's saying, will you not succeed if you're not being mentored? You will still succeed, even if you're not being mentored. I know of people that are very successful. In fact, I heard someone on an interview in America that says he doesn't get mentored. He's a very brave person. And I hope he's going to go all the way, because I feel we all need mentoring. I'm going to promote that quite a bit today. So it's about the application. So here's a thought. Who likes sandwiches? A nice sandwich, a healthy one, Kaya? You know which? I used to eat a lot of sandwiches when I was younger, hey? I played a lot of rugby, by the way. There's a couple of rugby guys here, I think. Played scrum off back in the day, long time ago. And you need a lot of salmis, sandwiches. I used to enjoy peanut butter and jam, a whole lot of them. And so I want to build a sandwich in a way. The first layer is that first piece of bread. And that I'm going to talk about the world we are in, to give a context of where we are. Where's the world going? And we're going to look at some statistics. In between, that's the real good stuff, eh? Hey, Kaya, the in-between part. I want to look at mentoring, what I call the go-between. the world we live in, and then the mentoring, which is that peanut butter and jam, and then the other piece of bread is you and I. How we can link with the world we're in through being mentored. So we'll have a look at, hopefully I can build a good psalm today. Okay, so let's look at the world that we're in. And then I'm going to be brave and tell you what I think could happen. I spoke at a conference and I said, I think this is going to happen. Phew, the eyes went this big. Just with the bit that I had studied. I could be wrong, but we'll get into it. Let's just see where we are. Let's go to the next slide, Mr. Gerald. They call me Adrian to fit in with the G Club. But anyway, life as we know it. Let's run through this and then we run through the time there. Oh, perfect. I've got a clock to guide me. So we're in a world of a lot of change, eh? Much technology and the advancement of technology. We'll look at some statistics there. Adaptability. When you have change, you need to adapt. I don't know about you, when there's a lot of change, it equals stress for me. Stress under pressure. Things are changing, and we'll look at a bit more of that. And then resilience is a big topic at the moment around the world. People that are resilient, they can bounce back, be knocked down because of change and stress and all of that, and bouncing back. And then relationships. What I realize is, and thought about it again today, that cell phones, I would assume everyone has got one, or just about everyone. This is part of our life. Many, many years ago, I think this wasn't part of our lives. Well, more than think. I know it wasn't. But today, it's in our pockets. It's part of our lives. And as a result, it can enhance relationship building, but it also can bring a strain to it. And I'll never forget my son and I, we were visiting some friends of ours, and my son's name's Darren. And I realized when we sat around the table, everyone was on the cell phone. And I was talking to the one parent, and I thought, wow, this is interesting relationship building. The guys were all on their phones. They weren't really talking to each other. But there was an opportunity to talk, and I thought, wow, okay, we're living in a very interesting world where relationship building is via technology. It's not necessarily as much interpersonal, and I think there are some dangers in that, so we can look at that. Okay, so let's have a look at some statistics. Can we go to the next slide? All right, let's first look at unemployment. In South Africa, we're sitting at 32%. By the way, that first saw me, the world we live in. So in South Africa, we are 32.5%. That was in December. So let's look at the other countries. Australia, 5.8%. They're doing pretty well. New Zealand, 4.9%. UK, 5%. I think that could have changed because of COVID, but the reality is, that's what it, if you can just use that as a concept. Coming back to South Africa, 7.2 million people without work. It's a lot, eh? Would you say that's stress, pressure? To live and not to have income is pressure, is stress. And we are apparently the 4th highest in the world, unemployment. So you can imagine how important it is to be mentored, to be guided, to be linked to opportunities. Some other guys that are not doing well, if we can just stay there, Bosnia, 33%. They're the highest on the list I had. And the best is Qatar, 0.1%. So we have unemployment, okay? I would assume that there might be some listening here. There might be some of you that are hearing this that are unemployed and seeking employment. So I'm hoping to give you hope in seeking employment. So let's go to the next slide. Sure, I don't want to go into all these technicalities now. Let's jump to, let's move on from that. We won't go into that. All right, let's get back to technology. So I try to research how fast is technology growing. And the best I could get is that our computer systems every 18 months is getting faster. 18 months, I'm sure it's shorter than that. Every year and a half it's going quicker. So I think we're going to get to a point where you press a button and it's like instant. I'm not there yet with my computer. So that's how fast it's happening. And what is technology about? Making our lives better, faster. All right, so okay, that's technology. Change of employment, just to bring about this adaptability point, is that in today's living, people will change their careers. I know it's a debatable one. What does it mean to change your career? Does it mean going into another field, or is it getting another job? We can debate that one. But let's just work on this one. 3 to 7 times you will change your career. I think it's more. I got a feeling it's going to be more. And that would mean globally there's a lot of movement. Again, around change, adaptability, etc. So let's look at stress. Stress for me is pressure. When you're feeling it, you don't know what to do, how to go about it. And as a result, we can do some crazy things. And the one aspect is suicides, which is a very terrible thing that people go through. And I've worked with someone who attempted suicide, wired himself up, an engineer. He knew about electricity, and his brother just saved him. As he switched on, his brother walked in and pulled it off him, and he burnt his hand, but he fortunately didn't pass away. He was under tremendous stress, depression, and by the way, I asked him what made you go to that length, and he said to me he had no purpose. He had no purpose in life, and he had all this ability, but he felt he couldn't apply it, coming back to that original point. So I read that, how about this? Alarming stat. 800,000 per year die through suicides. That's tragic, eh? Every 40 seconds, so the next 40 seconds, someone would have committed suicide. That's a terrible stat, and that is pressure, stress, unemployment, and trying to find one's purpose, etc. And then one more to look at on statistics is poverty. In South Africa, 49.2% of the population over 18 falls below the upper bound of the poverty line. That's extremely high. So, Gerald, if you can go to the next one. Okay, we're on the sandwich. Okay, so there's some things. Now let's get back to my prediction. Looking at the world, technology, etc. A lot of the growth in technology is around robotics, artificial intelligence, to make our life easier. And this is fast. It's a fast-moving industry in growth. And even on a positive note, for people with limbs, putting in arms, etc., to coordinate things so that you can have an arm, which I think is fantastic. And so what I thought of is, I personally think, like as we have cell phones, in my pocket, by the way, I feel that in time, maybe not in my lifetime or maybe in my lifetime, we will see robots as part of our households. Robots moving around, cutting the lawn or doing stuff. That it will become like a cell phone. It's just my thought. I think we could be getting there eventually to make life easier. We'll see these things, and already we're seeing some of those things happen. I wanted to know, anything you guys want to add about the world we live in? What is it like? Anyone want to give it a go? Anything else that you want to add to it? Would you agree that stress is a factor? Okay, so let's look at mentoring. Okay, we'll stay there, and I went through it. Let's first look at it biblically. The first time I believe we see mentoring in the Bible is right in Genesis chapter 1 and 2. We can read about it, where God creates Adam and Eve. Picture this. How amazing is this, that God walks with Adam and Eve through the garden. He builds relationally, talks into their lives, and gives them a plan, gives them an idea that, this is what I have in mind for you guys. This is what I would like you to do on planet Earth. Giving a concept, a plan. Not only that, giving it practicalities, giving it a context where we read that man worked the Garden of Eden. He cared for it. He managed it. So God gives this grandeur plan, but then takes this, as I see it, this grandeur plan and makes it practical and brings it to a garden so that Adam and Eve could work as a team and outwork God's plan. And a garden's a lovely place to do it in. So God worked as a mentor. He built and developed. I love the concepts of in Genesis. We can build so many things about it. Not only a plan, God also brings the animals to Adam. And he says, name the animals. And so Adam names it. And I think that's good administration. Because they had to manage the garden. They had to do things with the animals. And God helps and guides and gives understanding of how to actually go about it. And then it says Eve is created. So here's a thought, just going off the point a bit, for those that are looking towards getting married one day. For the guys that are, I know you got a best man lined up, eh? You know that Adam names the animals, eh? Administrates. God puts structure, gets him ready. So here's a thought for the guys. I think it's a good thing to be organized in your life before that Eve comes, eh? Before Eve comes, you got it together. You don't have to be perfect, but your life is kind of sorted in a way where you know where you're going and you know what's happening. So I believe it started there, and then we read in the textbooks that with Greek mythology, we read about mentoring. And then in the Middle Ages, mentoring was applied where a less experienced person would apprentice themselves with a more experienced person. So you'll read it in the textbooks, but I believe it started right there in Genesis. So let's go deeper into mentoring. So let's pick up academically now, going through a concept. Let's go the second one for the sake of time. Mentoring is a relationship and a set of processes where one person offers help, gives guidance, advises, and supports to facilitate the learning or development of another person. So there it is, as I read it. And just the one concept that I want to highlight here, advisors, for us mentors. And I believe that even though you are hoping to be mentored or to mentor someone else, I really hope that's your desire as well. When you advise, that you don't dictate. Advising through conversation and allowing the individual to share their dreams and what they want to do. Speak into that, not in a controlling way, but as a friend, as someone that will talk into that situation and making it relevant. So there we have a good concept. Relationships important where we believe. If you've missed everything, mentoring and mentoring others is about someone believing in you, because God believed in you. God believes in you as He believed in Adam and Eve. And when you feel that belief and someone's backing you, then you feel you can go places and you have that confidence. Let's move on there, Mr. G. All right, let me tell you a bit about myself, just in the mentoring side of things, how I got into some mentoring. As you would have heard from Glenn, I've worked for many years in an engineering context. And with engineering going through different stages, it hit a stage where there was, and still is, a scarcity in engineering. And so I decided to transition from project managing engineering projects to mentoring, mainly young people, but older, all various ages, all different generations, and mentoring to a point where there would be competence and functioning in the engineering sector. And so I've seen a lot of good things over the last 11 to 12 years, which has been very, very encouraging. And so I want to share with you some of those things that I've learned and how I've understood it, this concept of mentoring. So let's pick up on the first one, link to opportunity. I think this is the most underestimated aspect of mentoring, is to link whoever you are mentoring to an opportunity. Because we can mentor, we can help, but I feel if we don't link it to something, then we kind of haven't got to the finish line of what we want to do. So I've kind of enjoyed this when working with young people in talking about their dreams and understanding where they are and seeing their growth. I've actually found it really fulfilling where I could pick up the phone and phone my friends in industry, in those that own businesses, etc., and phone them and say, I've got somebody that's progressing so well. Will you give them a chance? And I've seen people get employed, which is so great. Just to give you statistics, over the last 11 years, in an engineering context, we have had about 90 odd in my environment, 90 odd engineering personnel, roughly. And of that 90, about 25 is currently being mentored and trained. And about 62 have been employed, absorbed in the industry, functioning and competent. And guys that are running wind farms or managing high-level stuff and have come from a one-on-one mentoring to a very responsible role. And I feel a lot of that is about linking to opportunity. If they weren't linked, how could they get there? Someone needs to open that opportunity. And you can speak to Mr. Weiss with the 2 S's. He's very good with that. And so when we do that, we set people into motion and into things. So a couple other things that creates a sense of belonging. If you're working with someone, making them understand the organization, the church they are in, and I feel that's a hugely important thing in church, is to create a culture of belief and in the working environment, to create that culture of backing one another. Everyone matters. And you can see it in the mornings when you start, when people greet each other. Say, let's go for it. Let's go do this thing. And you find that camaraderie has evolved. And it takes some time to build that culture. But you need a culture, I believe, for a whole lot of mentoring to happen. Yes, mentoring can happen on isolated situations. But if you really want the pureness and the full effect, you've got to create that. And that takes leadership. And that's another talk in itself. But if you can take an individual and help them understand what church is about, what the working environment is about, link them into the opportunity, and place them into something that is relevant to where their strengths are, they feel, I belong. I'm part of this thing. And that takes accuracy and setting guys up in the right spot. Then there's education, which you guys will know. There's the teaching element, etc. So now I'm going to play a video around coaching, because I believe coaching is an element of mentoring. So let's have a look at a video, and then we're going to have some fun in the next couple of minutes, and then we will get to the chocolate stage of this talk. So if you can play it, Gerald. Can you guys see that?
It's ridiculous. The stronger soldier does not necessarily win. It is speed. Speed of mind. Speed of mind. Now, sweep your hand through the drums without getting up. Nice one. How long is it to keep this up?
That's a film that I really enjoy. Count of Monte Cristo. It's one of those classics. But I enjoy that concept of that part of the film where this guy lands up in prison, but he's ignorant. He doesn't have life savvy. And he finds himself in a situation where he's being betrayed and set up incorrectly, and he's got a life sentence. Then he meets up with this older man, more experienced person, who helps him and educates him and coaches him to live life. And then eventually he gets out of the jail, and then he goes to live life, and he makes a success of it. So that part there, to me, is what coaching is about. And mentoring for me is the holistic approach to development. Coaching is an element of mentoring. And yeah, there are some that focus primarily on coaching. And I know there's some overlap here. I don't want to get too technical. But for me, coaching is about developing a skill, setting some goals, and being quite forthright, disciplined. You need to meet the target. And we looked at some rugby, and rugby is a great example where you have to put in to achieve things in rugby, fitness, etc. And I'm sure all kinds of sports. And a coach will look at the skill and bring it through. So in that clip, you find this guy training this younger guy to be a better swordsman. It's that era of life where you have to be a good swordsman to protect yourself. And he says to him, you kind of got to get your hand in that water and not get wet. And I haven't showed you all of it, but he practices for days, I think weeks, until he gets a spot on. And he doesn't get wet. So I quite enjoy that. So coaching is part of mentoring, and we got to do it. We got to help one another and develop each other's skills. So let's move on. Let's pick. We've done catalyst. We've covered a lot of that stuff. Another aspect is an advocate. Let's go back there. Where you have someone defending you. Isn't it nice if someone goes on your behalf, and where you don't have to say, please go do it for me. Your mentor has a passion to go and speak for you and say, open up opportunities for this guy and help this person. And I have a story to tell about this defending and helping others. I had a lady joining in our work environment, a young engineer. I could see she was very nervous, stressing, and her hands were like clenched. You know, is that the right way to say it, Kai? Very, very tense. And I met this lady, and I felt so sorry for her. But I knew that there's potential to go big, to do something great in this environment. But it needed time. Others come in very confident, very bold. And yeah, you can let them loose sooner. But this lady needed time. And so, over time, I would say to her, it's okay, don't worry. I'll back you. Don't worry, I'll help you in this thing. I'll help you in this environment. By the way, women in engineering is a scarcity. In the STEM environment, there are some challenges. Here's this lady in a predominantly male environment. It's intense, eh? It's intense, trust me. So I started to see, she's gaining some confidence, but then I spoke to her supervisors, and they were telling me after a year, it's not going to work. It's not going to work with this lady. She's quiet, nervous. What do you think? And they were chatting to me, and I said, give her a go. Just give her another year. Give me time. Give me time. What do you think I'm doing when I'm saying that? Advocate. Give this lady time. We need people like that for our lives, eh? Wouldn't it help with all that stress, adaptability, issues that we're facing, that someone's going to go there and help us? And God does that for us. More importantly, He's our chief advocate. And so they gave me another year, and I was like, yes, I got another year. Now I'm going to work. And then I was so excited. I started to see this lady get confident, start going for it. And I was like, going like that in my office. Yes, man, we're going to see a good thing here. Eventually, long story short, is that this lady progressed where she started running projects, started going for it, where the supervisors said, wow, she's finding her feet, she's finding a momentum, this is great. And I was like, yes, man. And eventually, she got a fantastic job. Brilliant. And what she earned in that job, I found out, was quite considerably more than on my floor. And I was like, yes, man. That to stick it through and for that lady to get there, we need that kind of situation. I wanted to do my little thing with the chocolate, but let's move on. I'm going to bring this to a head. Ash, you want the chocolate, eh? Let's move forward. Okay, I touched on this where those that perhaps are listening, where I think it's so important, and Kaya is starting here something today, and I know Mr. Weiss does this a lot. And we call it discipleship, Glenn, in the church, where to build a culture of development takes time, eh? We have a heart for it. And even in my work environment and other environments, when I've spoken on this, I've realized people say, yes, I'm for it. But within the DNA of the organization, it takes some time, eh? So, we need to talk about it, build the camaraderie, get amongst each other. If you run youth groups, you might want to call it discipleship or mentorship, where you say, let's help one another. Let's get others in, and let's build this thing called mentorship. So, that took about 6 to 8 months of presentation. I know in my environment, we had some of it, but it took 6 to 8 months, and then the guys said, okay, we're going to go with it. That was 11 years ago, and now it's a culture. Now everyone helps one another. When I walk in on my one floor, I see guys are in the offices helping. This one's helping that one's helping that one, and you just see it's moving. And when you have that, it's a good place to be in. Let's go to the next one. Okay, I'm going to just show you a template there, but let's just have some fun. Mr. Weiss, I owe you a few minutes over, penalty fee, to the organizers. You know that guy was going like that with the hand, with the water. I just want to see how good you guys are. Should we give it a go? Maybe 3 or 4 volunteers. Mr. G is going to be the judge here for a biscuit chocolate, eh? Ati, why don't you lead the way? We've had a rugby theme, eh? By the way, my nephew is Dylan Vermaak. You will know him. He's quite the speedster back in the day, but the hamstring has said otherwise recently. All the rugby guys. Any ladies? Okay, this doesn't have to be long, eh? Okay, I think shame, man. Let's leave you guys in peace on this. I just want you to go like that, eh? And Mr. G, you must see who's the fastest. But I'm going to count from, do you first want to practice? Just do a practice run. Okay, we got it. Okay? I'm going to go, I'll count down to 0. When I say 0, then you give it a shot. 3, 2, 1, 0. Mr. G? Hey? This man. Okay, let's go again. 3, 2, 1, go. Wow. Wow, you beat all the guys, eh? I want to leave it with you, Kaya. I've got a template that I developed for mentoring, okay? That I've used, and it's with a lot of academics and putting it all together. I'm just going to show the guys the outline, and then I'm done. Okay? Yeah, I'm just going to show this outline. So if you want to mentor someone or be mentored, you need to see this happen. Okay? This took a serious amount of time to develop. It's a couple of pages long. But the first thing, you want to create vision. Where are you going? What is your purpose? To talk that through with your mentor. Not your mentor's vision, your vision. And I've had some very interesting stories. One guy wants to be a captain of a ship, and he was studying engineering. I loved that, eh? You determine where you are at. That's where I want to go. I'm here. Mentoring, you need to find out where that is. The third one is, what is the gap? You here, that's where you want to get to. What's the gap? The fourth one is really the steps and to measure how you're going. And when you meet, you find out, how far am I getting towards my vision? Guys, it's been great chatting with